Hello, there are people here. Yay, it's working. Um, Hello. Let's see if anyone else joins. I feel like a teacher on parent teacher conference night, waiting for all the parents to come in. Um, like, yeah, I don't know what I'm doing at all. I've done a few Instagram lives before, but I figured this has a little bit of a wider reach and I don't know, it's easier to use. So, I mean, it's cool that Blue Sky is supporting the live feature now. So I figured might as well take advantage of it with all the followers I have there. Let's see. Hi from New Zealand. Wow. Hello, New Zealand. What time is it there? It's a very different time than it is here. Hello to the other people who come here. Someone's from Hong Kong. Very cool. Right now it is 10 after 7 in New York City. I am based in Brooklyn and I'm here at home, just sitting at my table in front of my messy desk. Welcome. It's cool to see people joining, someone from California. All right, we're all over the world. We're covering a lot of ground. That's awesome. SoCal, hey. Washington State, hey. All right, cool, you guys. Just gonna wait another few seconds to see if more people join. But live streaming is very strange because I feel like I'm talking to myself, but you guys are here. I know that there are other ways to do this, but with other people. But we're just going to test this out now and see how it goes. Thank you for bearing with me. Hello, Alabama, Ohio, Portland, Wyoming, Missouri. So cool. So cool. Thank you for tuning in on this very random experiment that I'm trying right now. And it's actually probably better off that it's fewer people at the moment because again, this is very new to me, and not super comfortable with this format, but we're going to give it a try. So yeah, I'm here to chat. Um, yes, someone asked if the people on Blue Sky are real. I am a real person. Hello, I'm real. Um, and yeah, as I mentioned in my Blue Sky post, I'm here to talk about all the crazy shit that's going on right now. So open to questions that you may have about Delaney Hall, which is the ICE facility in New York, New Jersey. I was down there last week. There's also a new lawsuit that I posted about a few minutes ago that was related to some other reporting I did. There's a class action lawsuit being formed against the DOJ and the Attorney General for trying to subpoena health records for trans youth healthcare at NYU in New York, and it came from a court in Texas. So it's all very fucked up. But okay, so someone asked, so what's up with DHS in New Jersey? What is up? Well, since not this past Friday, but the Friday before, there's been a hunger strike going on at Delaney Hall in Newark. People inside there are protesting inhumane conditions and rotten food and lack of medical care and being coerced into signing deportation orders. And it's just a really, really shitty situation. And then compounding all these issues was that Governor Mikey Sherrill, a Democrat who just sworn in as governor a few months ago, she decided to get the state troopers involved because she thought that the ICE agents were being too aggressive towards protesters and media. That turned out to be a really bad call because the police were just as brutal, if not more brutal, towards the protesters and the members of the media. A number of members of the media have been hurt, some pretty severely, and I'm sure you saw, footage from it. There were police officers on horses, these giant ass horses, just like riding around with people on the ground. It was so dangerous and also like really bad for the horses too, probably. and not my area of expertise, but I don't think, much like humans, I don't think that horses enjoy tear gas either. Just a guess. Hi, Caitlin. Hey. Yeah, I'm on YouTube. This is weird. Yeah, again, don't know what I'm doing. If anyone, again, has any questions, throw them in the chat. But just to continue with talking about Delaney Hall, yeah, someone said truly horrible conditions. It's true. They are truly horrible. And there was a curfew instituted by the mayor of Newark to try and get people off the street. But really, it was just punitive measures against protesters. They weren't doing anything to rein in ICE or to meet the demands of the hunger strikers. I mean, the whole thing is the hunger strike, right? Like, that is what the whole point of this. The people who are outside Delaney Hall are there to show the people inside that we care about them and that we know that this shit is going on right under our noses. And, you know, the fact that the governor and the mayor are kind of looking for ways to limit that activity, and they're calling them outside agitators and saying they were armed with shields and masks. It's like, why were they wearing masks? Oh, they needed gas masks because they were being gassed by ICE and then by the New Jersey State Troopers, and it's just a big mess. I see in the chat someone says the question I have is whether Cheryl was misguided, stupid, evil, or if state police went rogue. It's hard to say. I mean, Governor Cheryl, she has a military background. She is a Blue Dog Democrat. She was in the House of Representatives before she became governor. And, I think someone said in the chat, it's a combination. I think that she, like many governors, find it difficult to kind of toe the line between keeping the Trump administration off their backs and then also serving the people who they represent. And they should be looking out for the people of New Jersey and the people who are locked up, most of them illegally in Delaney Hall. But she, I think, was looking to send some law and order message, show that she had things under control. But ultimately, the state troopers and the Attorney General's office of New Jersey, they all are under her purview. And so the buck stops with her. And it seems like she doesn't really want to take any responsibility or to admit that maybe her cops really did brutalize people outside Delaney Hall, and that it made things worse. And it's also having a really bad chilling effect on the protest there. And why would people want to show up and aid with the protest if they see that they're just going to get gassed and get shot with pepper balls and maybe get attacked by a horse? Like, no one wants to do that. So yeah, that's kind of where things that stand on Delaney Hall. The Newark mayor did announce that the curfew that had been instituted is being lifted, because I think he realized that is not helpful. That's just curtailing people's freedom of assembly, freedom of speech. But right now things are kind of at a standstill. And I think the mayor of Newark rightly pointed out that the goal is to close Delaney Hall. Like, it's not just to get these hunger strikers out. It's not just to make some sort of temporary fix. It's to close down this facility, which is owned by Geo Group. And it's a private prison group. They are based in Florida, and they have no business being in any sort of business of incarcerating people, but particularly not federal prison, incarcerating immigrants who have done nothing wrong. A vast majority of the people held there have not committed any crime. And coming to this country as an immigrant is not a crime. Waiting for your asylum appointment is not a crime. And this administration has made it so. And so that is what the protesters are trying to fight back against. And they're being kind of kneecapped in every way possible. Okay, let's look at the chat. It's hard to talk and look at the chat at the same time. I appreciate your content on Blue Sky so much. I'm happy to see you live. Thank you. Someone said, didn't the feds pepper spray Cheryl? Wondering if you have any insight into why they weren't arrested for interfering with a state official. I don't believe the feds pepper sprayed Cheryl. I know that she showed up outside Delaney Hall on a Monday of last week, and and she tried to get in and they wouldn't allow her in. But it's mostly been the violence that's been going on for the last week has mostly been happening after nightfall. So especially these politicians who have been coming and doing these site checks and looking to see what the conditions are for themselves, they're there mostly during the day. And so things are pretty calm then. I mean, it's on a main street. It's on this, it's called Doremus Avenue. I think I'm pronouncing that right. And there are tons of trucks going by all the time. There's a lot of traffic, a lot of witnesses. And so they're not going to do anything crazy just because it would just be such a nightmare for them. But, you know, at night, after nightfall, when there's fewer trucks, there's less traffic and they're pushing people into the street. And that's when they feel like they can act with a bit more impunity. And it shows. They're pretty lawless once the sun goes down. When I was out there last week, I was out there with another journalist, and things were relatively calm. I felt pretty good. I mean, I was standing, you know, this far from some of the ICE agents, standing in between some of the agents and the protesters, and I felt relatively fine. And, you know, I had a mask on and goggles. But this other journalist I was with said, like, I feel like things are about to turn bad. And, you know, thank God I was with them because they were absolutely right. The cops were starting to close off the street, you know, a little ways down the street to keep everyone there contained in the space. And just a short while after we left, apparently I heard this from another reporter who was an eyewitness. An ICE agent came kind of like flying at a protester, like kind of like jump kicked them, and they stumbled backwards, the protester, into a moving truck that was going by, and their foot went under the wheel of the truck. And it's crazy. It was just one of those things that you can't believe it happened. And then after the fact, I couldn't believe that it wasn't just the biggest story. Like ICE pushes a protester into a moving truck. But yeah, it's pretty remarkable how everyone kind of just moved on. I tried to get more information about that person, pretty elusive, but elected officials in New Jersey didn't seem particularly interested in finding out what happened to them, if they were okay. Someone told this other journalist that was an eyewitness, supposedly a friend of that person, that they were okay and somehow were relatively unscathed after getting run over by the wheel of an 18-wheeler. So unclear. Okay, back to the chat. Any word on which hospitals received the Langone criminal subpoenas? Langone said there were several. I believe that Mount Sinai was another one of them. That was the only one I know of in New York State. And then I know in other states, in Maryland and in California, they're trying to fight similar subpoenas and in court and make sure that they're not compelled to release that information. I was doing a quick read of the complaint that I got just a little while ago. And I think a really important point in the complaint is that once this information is released, you can't put it back. There's no turning back from releasing this information. And so no amount of money is going to change the fact that you are exposing private health information of people who either were at the time or are still currently minors. It's such a gross violation of their privacy and of their constitutional rights. And so the idea right now is to compel the DOJ and Attorney General from stopping from not obtaining those records in the first place, or compelling NYU Langone and Mount Sinai to not release them at all, even though they're feeling like they may be compelled to by the subpoena. And so right now there are currently 5 plaintiffs. 2 of them are now adults, but were minors at the time of their care. It was the subpoena covers 2020 to 2026. And so they're kind of there on their own, representing themselves. And then 3 of the other plaintiffs are still minors, so they're being represented by their parents in the suit. And I've been in touch with some of the parents, and I think they're all happy that action is being taken, that ACLU is involved, that NCLU, Lambda Legal. And so people are on it, but as they write in the complaint, this is part of the larger project to deny gender affirming care to trans youth. And you know, it's not really about anything other than that. They're trying to scare people, scare hospital systems into providing the care, even though it's legal in states like New York, and scare families and parents of trans youth who are looking to get the care that they need and have received it. And as far as I understand, it was a wonderful program at NYU, and it's really unfortunate that it's been completely stripped away. Um, yeah, and the chat said the case of the judge in Georgia who was anonymized in a disciplinary memo and was found out immediately seems like it should be instructive here. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's easy enough to figure out who people are, even if they're anonymous, and especially with such a vindictive administration who have this witch hunt against trans people and who are looking to make their lives as difficult as possible. So it really does feel like they're up against the clock right now in trying to get injunctive action and get them to stop this information from being released, because once it's out there, it can never go back. And these young people, even the ones who are adults now, like they're 19 or 20 years old. They're babies. They're so young, and they are just setting out in life and finding their footing, and have recently had this gender affirming care that they so badly needed. And now they're looking to be kind of like shamed into silence, and they're looking, DOJ is looking to make them scared. And so I think that's why public support is so important. And also, I'm, a cisgender journalist, but I've written quite a bit about trans issues. And I think it's just important for all journalists to be on top of this, especially when there are a lot of outlets who are pretty anti-trans and traffic in some really dangerous misinformation about what it's like to be trans in America right now. And I have just been very clear from the start that trans rights are human rights, full stop. I don't think it's complicated, actually. But people and a lot of journalists especially, want to make it complicated. And I don't fuck with that. So, all right, looking back in the chat. Any comment on Attorney General Davenport's statement leveled at outside agitators at Delaney? The thing that surprised me was the seeming admission that the actions of individuals armed with gas masks were putting the public in danger. So the AG seems to effectively be saying, don't rile up the cops or they'll just start attacking anything in sight. I mean, that's always what it is, right? Like the outside agitator thing is like a tale as old as time. Governors in the 60s used that during the civil rights movement. And it's a really easy way to absolve yourself of blame and also absolve your state and saying like, well, in New Jersey, for example, so this is the Attorney General Davenport of New Jersey. She is saying, well, these weren't, New Jerseyans who were standing up for their neighbors. These were just some people from another state, from another place who were just trying to cause trouble. And it's just, there's no evidence that that's true. From being on the ground myself and then speaking to people who remain on the ground, watching live streams. I think that it's really difficult for people in power to wrap their heads around the idea that someone might want to just show up and show their support for people who are vulnerable. That they don't understand, like, taking your free time to go do that. They don't see the utility in it. When I was out there, some idiot drove by and yelled out his window, like, get a job. And which like, where are you going in the middle of the day, buddy? First of all. But second of all, I was like, I'm doing my job. Second of all, third of all. And, but also, like, people have all different sorts of jobs. People have all sorts of different schedules. And there's such a narrow idea of the type of person who would sacrifice their time and safety for people that they don't know. And so this idea that they were armed with gas masks and that they were putting people in danger, it's just not true. It doesn't ring true whatsoever. And I think it's a real cop out by the cops. The families of people detained at Delaney Hall put out a call for protesters to come and support the strikers. So people came out. That's absolutely right. And a big reason that that people did gather is because the families knew their loved ones inside needed more attention. They needed a voice. And the thing that's so unfortunate is that, at the end of the day, this is about the strikers and this is about the detainees in Delaney Hall. But the way that the governor and ICE and all the officials involved have responded, it's taken it so far away from the actual purpose of what we're doing here. So blaming protesters and blaming media and threatening media. I mean, what are we doing here? The point is that there is an abusive ICE facility in Newark, New Jersey. It's 8 miles from Manhattan, from New York City. So it's not like it's in the middle of nowhere. It's in the middle of a lot of people and a lot of very vibrant immigrant communities. And of course, people are going to care. Of course, people are going to be out there. And so the families of the people in there, they asked people to come out, and they did, because I think, at least speaking as someone in New York, I've been hearing about it so much in Broadview in Illinois, and in so many other places. And uh, I and Minnesota, and I've just been wondering, like, what will I do when it comes to my backyard? Will I be able to be out there? And I was honestly kind of nervous to go down there. I was away Memorial Day weekend when things started, and I got back and was kind of trying to work up the nerve because also it's a very intimidating situation, especially when you're on your own. As an independent journalist, like I don't have any backup. I don't have a camera crew. Like it's just me and my iPhone. Like it's very basic stuff. And I had to decide like whether I was willing to put myself in that risky situation, and ultimately decided that I had to see it with my own eyes, because that seems to be the only way you can like know for sure anymore. There have been, in that vein, there have been a lot of right-wing streamers and prominent YouTubers or whatever people, TikTok people, coming down to Delaney Hall to cause problems, and they're the outside agitators, right? Like they're the ones who want to cause problems, want to agitate the protesters who are there for legitimate reasons. They just want to get a rise out of people. When I was out there, there was a streamer standing. So there was a line of ICE agents on the sidewalk facing out to the street. And then there were a line of protesters facing them. And this streamer just stood right in front of the line of ICE agents. And I'm telling you, if a regular protester came that close to the ICE agents, they would have like beat the shit out of them. But they knew that he was, a friendly audience. He stood right in front of them. So his back is to the ICE agents and he's facing out at the protesters like them. And he just has his stream on and he's just capturing people who are out there, and he's reading the comments and he is trying to get a rise out of people. And it was just so interesting to see the way he was treated versus the way that protesters were treated. And then a couple of nights ago, the same thing. There were some right-wing streamers who were there to cause trouble. And when the protesters started to turn on them, they ran towards ICE, and ICE brought them behind the gate of Delaney Hall to protect them. Like they were there. They were essentially the guests of ICE. They were there on their side. And so it was very revealing. It exposed which media is protected and which is threatened and tear gassed and is told that you're not allowed to be on public property, despite the fact that we have a constitutional right to do so. And yeah, it's just really sick. Let's see, anything else in the chat? Thanks so much for your work. Thank you. Yeah, if you're a PATH train and bus ride away, then you count as a neighbor. I that's definitely true. Like to me, I'm in New York, but New York that's my neighborhood. Like it's the metro area. And actually I've been kind of bummed that there haven't been more people out there. I would think because it's such a populated area. I mean, that where it actually is super random. It's like a very industrial corner of Newark that I have definitely never been to before. But I would like to see more people coming out there and putting themselves on the line if they're able to, because it's important. And I think the way that the government response has been so far is unique from some of the other states where this has happened so far. I don't know. I think just bearing witness is such a powerful thing to say you were there, and to show the people inside who are literally not eating, they're starving themselves and have been for 10 days. Show them that you give a shit about their stories, even though you may not know their names and may not know what their faces look like. Someone said, I'm concerned about retaliation in the center now. Yeah, that's a very real concern, and that's happening reportedly already. People on the inside, detainees, have reported to family members that the guards are retaliating against them, that they have physically beat them. There have been a lot of repercussions. Martin Soto, who was one of the leaders of the hunger strike, or who helped kick it off, rather, he was transferred out of Delaney last week into another local jail, the Elizabeth Detention Center, I believe. And so he spoke to a reporter a few days ago, and he said that as he was leaving, one of the ICE agents pointed to a woman who was like being brutalized outside, a protester, and he said to Soto, "See that? That's your fault. That you did that." And trying to turn it back on them. And it's like this is psychological warfare that by fighting for your own rights and making a public statement, you are in turn hurting the people who care about you. It's just incredibly perverse. If there anyone wants to throw another question in the chat before we wrap up. I again thank you for bearing with me, you guys. To the 40 or so of you who hung in there, you're champions. Really, really nice. I'm going to try and do this more. I'm going to try and be more chill about it and not be so nervous. Maybe have guests. Who knows? That the sky is the limit with streaming. Someone asked, will you possibly go live regularly? Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's pretty easy. I don't see why not. I would love to interact with everyone more, and this seems like a relatively low lift way to do it. I'd love to figure out how to integrate it more with my newsletter on Beehive. For those, I imagine most people here are Handbasket subscribers, but if you're not, I publish the Handbasket. You can find it at thehandbasket.co and subscribe there. I think there is some way to go live through Beehive, which is my platform, but I don't really know yet. So right now, YouTube it is. But thank you guys so much for coming and for the nice words. And I guess I'll see you soon. And you could find me on Blue Sky as always. Bye.